Carmel and Caffrey, and all of the team members this evening. And a big thank you to John Paul second students who are also here helping out with the keys this afternoon, this evening, sorry. Michael has just reminded me to mention that on Monday the 5th of February, the TP Maguire Memorial Quiz will be taking place down at Athlone at 8 p.m. sharp, and it's teams of 4, so if you get yourself organised this evening, you have some friends that will join you on February the 5th, Monday, February the 5th, at 8 p.m. sharp, TP Maguire's Memorial Quiz, so I'd like to see you there. So after a very enjoyable first half with the Teemore Shamrocks, we're going into the second half with my new adopted club, Derrylin Teemore. I was going to mention a few things about New Trinity wrong, but I'd like to go down a few championship medals there as well. So I'm going to hand you over here now to Martin and Tommy to continue on with the history of the O'Connells. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Christy. I'm not sure if I should thank you for all of that, because when people start talking about senior championship medals, it doesn't go down well today then here, but especially when there's people's blow-ins from Newton Butler, it's even worse again. First of all, I'd like to start off by, as Kieran did, congratulating St. Aidan's on winning their championship match on Friday past there, with players from all the clubs in the area here. So it's good to see a local school doing so well, and we congratulate them on that, from Derrylin College and from everybody else, I'm sure as well. The other thing is that with the two clubs from the same parish, a lot of the history of the two clubs is very similar, with players played for each other, played for different teams, played against each other. So part of what was said initially, the first few words there, will apply here now as well. But anyway, we'll start off with the logo. Coming back to the logo there, please, Kenny. Derrylin is one of the last clubs in the county to have a logo. Most other clubs had one. So in 2003, we ran a competition among the members to come up with ideas. So a lot of ideas came in, went to the executive, and we gave the ideas to Mary Mooney, who's the art teacher up in St. Aidan's, and this is the design she came up with here. So basically, as you can see what it is, we took the Derrylin, we found Derrylin, but the Derry bit was easy enough because it refers to an oak leaf or an oak tree, which is the leaf from the acorns. The Lin bit is a bit more difficult because it can translate as a little pool, or some people say it relates to the Flynn family, which is what's on the stones at either end of the village, put up by the council, the townland of Flynn, or it can also mean along to the blackbird. So pool we didn't think was a strong enough picture. We couldn't get a Flynn good enough looking, and we picked the blackbird as the best of the three options. So that's the blackbird part. O'Connell then, which is the next one, referred to Daniel O'Connell. Daniel O'Connell, a big advocate called the Liberator in the late 1700s and 1800s. He's regarded as one of the peaceful sort of demonstrators for Catholic rights, which had been beaten down during the time of the penal laws. And he's credited with being the main advocate of the Catholic Emancipation Act of 1829. He died in just family years 1847. A number of places in Ireland named after him, particularly O'Connell Street in Dublin with a statue, O'Connell Street in Limerick as well. But probably the most important one in all of Ireland is down the road there in O'Connell Park in Shaker Road, named after him as well. We think that's the most important one. Ireland in the early 1800s was not a great place to live. The Ordnance Survey is 200 years old. The Ordnance Survey maps, first time in the world that 6-inch maps of any country were made. Ireland is the first country in the world. And as well as making the map, the sappers, as they were called, published a little book of their observations of what they saw when they were going around the countryside. This is what they had to say in the Derrylin here. If you can read it, what it says there, the course of Derrylin and the barony of Knocknetty. No town in the village of Derrylin is too insignificant to deserve a detailed description, and is therefore only referred to as being a police station where a manor court is held, conducted by a sheriff, which is a kind of a local judge. The last bit I think is the most interesting. The village itself, composed of a few cabins, is very miserable. So I don't think those people got a job at the tourist board, to be honest with you. Anyway, Ireland, as we said, not a great place, as David mentioned, with the famine then came in the 1840s, 1850s. But there was a bit of a revival then at that stage, and we had things like the Land Act of Michael Davitt, which gave greater rights to the tenant farmers. We also had the political movement of Charles Stewart Parnell, Home Rule, and we also had the cultural revival, which was the Irish language, music and dance and so on, with the Gaelic League. So in the middle of all this mix came this man here, Michael Cusick from Clare, a big advocate of rugby and cricket, believe it or not, a teacher up in Newry for a while, but he saw that these, what became known as foreign games later on, were taking precedence over the native Irish games, so he decided to do something about it. He called a meeting in his hotel in Thurles on the 1st of November in 1884, and there he set up this association with about 7 other people, we think, and it's called the Gaelic Association for the Preservation and Cultivation of National Pastimes, the GAA as we know it today. And the idea was to give control of Irish athletics back to the Irish people. So it said it spread like a prairie fire, that was the phrase used at the time, and the organisation reached Ulster the following year probably. And Ballyconn is credited with being the first club, first place in Ulster to have a Gaelic club. So they claimed the title Ballyconn First Ulsters. And also then it spread to Fermanagh. Newton Butler claimed the first club in Fermanagh. They called themselves Newton Butler First Fermanaghs. No doubt it came here to the Derrylin Teemore, Knockniny area because of its proximity to Ballyconnell, and also the fact that the Tom Regan parish spread down as far as about the Borough Lane at that time as well. So there were several teams in this area at the time. And we know this from these records, from these records here, where we have a list of names written in red there. We have the, can't really see that, the clock out in front of it, it doesn't matter, I'll walk out and see what they are. The Derrylin Gratans, Clondoney Slashers, Knockniny Ringleaders, Killamagna Sarsfields, Derrylin Young Mitchells, which was people later on, and also was a team in Doon, we think, called the Doon Daggers. Martin's just had nothing got to do with a knife. It's when you were going around the field in the olden days, cutting along the edges after having go to the horse and cart, the dagger was at the side. So those are, how do we know that? We know this because funny enough, the RIC records tell us that the Royal Irish Constabulary had been established at the time, and they were keeping an eye on another organisation, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, which had come into being, a more militant organisation. It was thought that maybe they had some influence on this initial movement of the GAA, so they were had spies out along the areas, keeping an eye on these people, and so this is how we know. These records are from Dublin Castle, strangely enough. So those are the names of the people that were umpires, as they said there, and captains, and the number of members that they had in each area. We reckon in the 1890s there were 11 clubs in Fermanagh, and there's about half a dozen of them in this area here. Right, so the next one is a team, one of these teams, two of these teams in fact. I let Martin talk about these because difference of opinion with different people among them. We have Dermot Gratans and we have Teemore Shamrocks. So Martin has a theory about when this photograph was taken. The late Packy Gillespie said it was taken the left one about 1890, but we're not sure.
Well, first of all, I'd like to get into that and my congratulations to the St. Aidan's team on Friday winning the title. It's great, tremendous achievement for the parish, for the extended parish, but not neglecting the contribution that Kinolly and Ballymac made as well, of course. But it was a fantastic achievement. Some of you were at the game. It was a fantastic game. Neil back and finish, but the White held out for becoming one of the champions. Something that both the Dailies have been aiming for over 60 years now, and at long last in our lifetime it was achieved. Anyway, I feel this night's very appropriate for myself. It was the first football match I was ever at, or ever brought to, was Derrylin Teemore in the Mountain Road. I don't remember the year, I don't remember the score, I don't remember anything. All I remember is my father brought me to it on the bar of his bicycle up the Mountain Road. I remember three things about the day. One, surprise, there was what Michael O'Hare would call a schmuzzer, right in front of where we were standing. And the only man I can remember in it, in God rest him, he's gone to his grave, was John Francis Lee from neighbour of my own in Dromore. I remember a fine footballer from Derrylin, stylish footballer, John Cassidy, and his brother Brian here tonight, and carried off the field with a reoccurrence of a knee injury. They received a few weeks later in Benedict. In fact, I believe he may have been his last game for Derrylin. And I remember coming down the road on a bicycle, and we were joined by a big, tall, straight man on a bicycle as well. Him and his father were chatting the whole way down to Derrylin in Stone Park. I didn't see that. I think I called in here for a while. I thought he was going in for a kill, but actually was very late. And soon after, his name was Johnny McBrien. He's a man who I'll come back to later. In his day, I didn't know at the time, I didn't know for long time after, but in his day, he probably was the finest full-back of his era for club and country. And anyway, this the photograph on the left is a strange photograph in a way because in two different books, it's given two different years. Now, in Packy Keys' book, as Tommy referred to, this one here, and I see copies of it and his other publication over there. It's dated, he calls it the Derrylin Teemore team of 1889, which would mean it probably was the Derrylin Teemore Graftons he was referring to. And it goes to the names of the team as well. Now, however, in his history of the GAA in Fermanagh, Gabriel Brock, at the same photograph, doesn't have the name, but he listed that the Long Erin leaders, who were also based in Derrylin Teemore in 1905. So which team it is just open to reject. But first of all, I'd say about Gabriel Brock's book, which is now long out of print, it was published in 1984, but if anyone can get it on, it is a fantastic record of the GAA in Fermanagh. From back to 1889, when the first list of teams was published or discovered, right up to 1984. And he does say in it that no family contributed more to the GAA than the Turks of Teemore. He highlights it down at the horn. But it is really, for every club in the country, it's a fantastic book. So too, and I'm not advertising here, I don't even see them there, are packaged two books. A wealth of information in them, a wealth of photographic information, as well as historical information, and a wealth of sporting information as well. Again, well worth having. Both men, God rest them, did a tremendous contribution to their county, to their communities, in recording so much, so faithfully. And the second book package, unfortunately died, obviously before it could be completed. Brian McManus was here, and Brian Gallagher, who was at the match on Friday, 90 years of age almost. He was there, first principals and Davies, supporting the team. It was so good to see him. They made a fantastic job of completing the package too. But anyway, if you look at the two teams, I think it's more like 1905. But first of all, there weren't many cameras around in 1905. In those days, back, even on Ireland champions, a photograph wasn't published or taken, in some cases, or most cases, many years later. Now, it's unlikely that there were many cameras around in the parish either. But if you look at the two teams, they're both well kitted out, they're both posed the same structure posed, a three-tier structure. So, and also the background is very similar. So I would think it probably, the two boats probably were taken in 1905, probably at a match between them, or possibly at a match between them, because it's unlikely that there have been two people with cameras, and always remember took the photographs, was used to taking photographs, because they've got the players properly lined up, they're all looking straight at the photographer, which is the hardest thing to do when you get taking a photograph, quite well knows, trying to get people, even a small group, all looking the same way at the same time. And with photographs now, it's nearly impossible with so many cameras around and so on. But anyway, it looks like it's probably somebody who's home on holidays, from America, or from England, and who had a camera. It happened to be at the match, and took the two teams, lined them up and took the photographs. Now, the other thing of each team has a man named Eddie McGuire in it. He's on the very front right of the Derrylin Teemore team. He's on the middle left of the waistcoat on the Teemore team. He's not the same man. You can see that anywhere, even in the appearance. But the reason I mention him is he could be, if one of those Eddie McGordons, it's Eddie McGordon I'm referring to, he's a link with the greatest drowning tragedy that was ever on Lough Erne. Because in 1908, about 5 young men from the area, around here, with 3, 1 from Kilnakelly, Eddie McGordon, 2 from the village, and 3 from Trannis Island, left by boat to leave another man, McCurry, who was named Philip McCurry, from Trannis, off to catch the train in Beltorport to head off on emigration. They were right in Beltorport, they were late, they missed the train by a few minutes just. So they decided to wait for the next train, it was 4 hours later, and they decided to go to a pub to pass the time. By the time the train arrived, and the man got off, they were very well on, I would say. In the boat the way home, they fell out over politics. The Molly McBrien from the Sinn Féin. And one member was singing a song, someone else objected to it, they started a fight, and the boat capsized. So 4 of them were thrown into the law, and were drowned, and 1 survived. He was able to get back on, or remain in the boat, for some reason. He was the brother of the fellow who was emigrating. The people on the shore, sound travelling a long way all night, people on the shore could hear the shouts for help and the screams, but by the time anybody got there, it was too late. And so, if one of those 2 Eddie McGordons, it was more likely the Derrylin Teemore man, he lived in Kilnakelly, was more likely to play with Derrylin Teemore than with Teemore. But we just don't know. It's just a conjecture. It's one of the mysteries that we never know an answer to.
Right, so that's another insight into the things that happen, not just in the football field, but all over the place. Next, we have to go to another unusual source for us now at the minute, which is the Impartial Reporter, believe it or not. The Impartial Reporter, published in the 1800s, carried a lot of sports information, including the GAA in the late 1800s, late 1890s and early 1900s. The Fermanagh Herald, you must remember, wasn't published until 1903, which is where we get most of our GAA information now. There was no Fermanagh Herald at that time at all, but the Impartial Reporter carried quite an extensive amount of information about the GAA at the time. And it published these 3 fixtures here in 1889. But sometimes you have to take some reports at that time with a bit of creativity, creative fiction, I suppose you would say it in a way. Sometimes they weren't 100% accurate, but 99% accurate. First match we have Mullinany Slashers, second team, McBrien Mitchell's first team. That match was played in January of that particular year. And the report said that the field was given by a Michael Martin of Cartrasna. Now there are 2 Cartrasnas here, Cartrasna Rock, Cartrasna Glebe. The Cartrasna Rock one down at Knocknilly, Cartrasna Glebe up the Ballyconnor Road. I have a notion this was Cartrasna Rock, this particular field, because there are markings down there as well at Cartrasna, but I'm not sure about that. And anyway, the field given by this man, and the referee was a man called P. McTaggart. The Slashers scored a point, and they kept the ball in the Mitchell's ground for 5 minutes. The ball was then caught by a Mitchell's player and was thrown, which is against the rules at that particular time. The Slashers claimed a free, but the umpire for the Mitchells denied them the free. A dispute broke out, lasted for some time. The Slashers umpire said, "Right boys, come," and they left the field with a goal. End of match. Second match was in March. The ringleaders against the Brian Maroons, obviously a Canolly connection there. We don't have much information about that, apart from the fact that at half time the ringleaders played to the win, and they had 2-6 to no score at half time, and at full time they were led 4-7 to no score. And the referee was Peter McHugh from Acklamad. Some people here that are from some of these areas might be able to put a connection to some of the names that I call out, because I don't know them myself, but people might be able to put a connection to some of these people. The third one, most interesting match in June, Acklamad ringleaders again against the Slieve Russells. Again, I assume Canolly, I don't know. Slieve Russell School down there off the Swan and Bar Road. So it could be that, or I'm not sure. Anyway, this was a windy day, and Acklamad had the win at the start, and they scored 2 goals in 20 minutes. Threats and angry words were everywhere at that stage. It was suspected that the Acromads, this is the way to describe it, the Acromads started it because they were afraid what the Steve Russells might do when they got the win in the second half. So the match ended and the Steve Russells cheered loudly on leaving the field. The following week, there was a reply to the impartial reporter, which is documented in one of Peggy's books. And the reply was from Peter McHugh, not the same Peter McHugh that I mentioned earlier, who apparently in this case now has become not a referee but a secretary of the Acromad ringleaders. And he said his claim is that the dispute arose because the Steve Russells got the ball in the first half and they held on to it and passed it among themselves when they were playing against the wind. So you could think of Jim McGuinness and Mickey Hart and their possession of football game, but it happened in Acromad over 100 years before that, so they have no claim to fame at all. Acromad claims that particular fame. The next thing that happened was the umpire, one of the umpires called J. McGordon, might be one of the McGordons that Martin mentioned, we're not sure. An umpire called J. McGordon kicked the leather as it was going into the goals, and that was against the rules too, so they say. Contention arose everywhere, and the match ended. The ball was only in play for 10 minutes. So, as I said, could be creative writing there, maybe, I'm not sure, but it sounds good enough. 1800s, 1800s, 1890s, 1900s, GAA was in a bit of a downer at that particular stage all over Ireland. It was on a downer because a couple of reasons. Number one, they had no money, ran out of money, so there was no money to organise things. The second was Parnell had been involved in a very sort of fractious dispute over a divorce suit. And so the GAA split, pro-Parnell, anti-Parnell. And also the IRB, there was a split in that as well, there was pro and anti there as well. But I think the most important one was the Catholic Church. They came out with a very strong letter against Sunday football, because it was desecrating the Sunday as they saw it. And they sent out the bishops with a pastor letter. This is the one that was read out in Enniskillen. And you won't be able to read it from there, but just a summary of a couple of the things on it. It said that the bishop's pastor said the country was polluted with this GAA that was going on. This Sunday football kicking was a perfect nuisance. It caused disturbance in families. Young men could get a broken leg or a broken arm and they wouldn't be able to work on the farm for weeks. They needed money to buy jerseys, as they called them, and this was a scarce commodity as well, causing a problem. And he ended up by saying he had never read anywhere in any book that football kicking was a good thing to do on a Sunday, that people should be saying their prayers or reading the book. And in the last sentence he said, in the name of God, you should set your faces against this football kicking. So that was 1890s, late 1890s. That knocked the GAA back, I would say, about 10 years, because Catholic Church dominated at the time, and so that was a big downer. But however, in the early 1900s there was a revival. The church reviewed its policies a little bit, thought that Sunday football kicking in the afternoons was okay, not on the Sunday morning because people would be going to mass, so to say. And the other thing that happened was two men came from Tipperary to Fermanagh, white brothers, came to Enniskillen to work in the Scotch store along the Sligo Road, big GAA men, particularly in hurling. And they organised, or the main organisers of the first county board meetings, as mentioned earlier, in 1904. The Fermanagh County Board was set up. One of the last in Ireland to be set up as well. And that was a big movement. There were structures put in place, matches were organised, tournaments were organised, and so on and so forth. So the first evidence we had, the first Ulster Senior Football Championship match was one between Cavan and Fermanagh, played in 1905, and it was played in Derrylin, probably worse than St School is now, we think. That's where we played. Cavan won that match by 4 points to 1. There was a competition then between 4 teams, called the Brookborough Cup. And the 4 teams that took part in that were Ballinamore, Artwick Morris, which is Ballinalek, Brookborough Bratton, Smith's Ski Teemore Shamrocks, and Knocknilly Harps. First time we hear the name Knocknilly Harps in that particular competition. We don't know who won it. The admission fee was threepence, 3D as it was then, but a penny and a half now. The next information it has is the match between Knocknilly Harps and the Ark Warriors. And this was the lineup of the team. Again, some people might recognise some of the names. 15th of July 1906 at 6 p.m. That was the lineup, and the referee, Mr. James McManus. Final score 3 points each in that particular one. Played, we reckon, in a place called Slasher's Bottom, where the Actomad people know where that is, down the, it's called the Actomad Road now, Brian? Yeah. Down the Bog Road. Slasher's Bottom was called. There's one called Murphy, I believe, is that right? Okay. The next one then is a tournament in Derrylin, 1906, in a field kindly donated by the Blake family, the report says. And just to mention that the Blake family had given the field to Derrylin from that particular time right up until 1969, free of charge, different fields all around the place. Matches were played in fields owned by the Blake family. This particular one was interesting because there was a match there between Knocknilly Harps and Killashandra the Leaguers. But that match didn't happen. And this tournament was to be held in July of that particular year, but it was postponed until August. And the reason being that a letter came from the Cavan County Board to say that on that particular date in July, there would be a Pioneer Total Abstinence reunion in Cavan, and that no Cavan teams would be able to travel to play a football match. As it turned out, Killashandra didn't turn up anyway on this appointed match, and Dona came instead. The other thing it said, the report said, was there was a good number of the fair sex turned out for the tournament. There you are, ladies. Even then, there was misogyny going on. And Charles O'Hara was the honorary secretary on the day. Charles O'Hara of Cornwall. Then there was a return match between Knocknilly Harps and the Dundalk Sons of Erin, a return match. And this is the first time we have a line out where the Christian names are mentioned of Knocknilly Harps. Knocknilly Harps won 8 points to 3. The other interesting thing that happened there was that there was a man called J. McMahon who entertained everybody after the match on the fiddle, and a great time was had by all after the match. We haven't much evidence then of anything for the next number of years in Derrylin because of disputes and political movements and all that type of thing was going on. But the county convention of 1916, we jump to that, is the first time we have a mention of a team called Derrylin O'Connells. They came to the fore at the convention, and they handed in a nomination late, but that's what we reckon it was. 1919 then, there was a tournament held in Kinolly, and here we see Derrylin O'Connells, Chris Swan and Barry Leeds selected. So that's the first time we have evidence of a match played by a Derrylin O'Connells team in that particular year. Following year, that very same year, 1919, we mentioned that skill earlier on with the Scott store. Some of you might remember the old Gaelic field, which is where between Waterways Ireland is and the Toyota garages on the Sligo Road on the right hand side. It was officially opened on the 1st of in that year, in the end of that year, and the first match played on that Gaelic field in Enniskillen was between Enniskillen and Wires, which had been set up by those White brothers I mentioned earlier, and Derrylin O'Connells. So they have the honour of opening up the first pitch in Enniskillen. 1920 then, we have another poster here for a Gaelic tournament to be held in Derrylin, and Derrylin O'Connells mentioned on that particular one again. I've listened to this one, sixpence. And Martin has sorted out here, or sorted out that the O'Connells got to the Senior Football Championship final that year, 1920. and they were beaten by Waterbridge won the final. There's no reports of the match or what happened or anything about it, except that they got to the final and Waterbridge were the champions that particular game, according to the Fermanagh County Board records. Next one, interesting one, Kingarrow Sports. Kingarrow, most people know down near the rock there. Sports day held on behalf of the Derrylin O'Connells. Irish time, it says at the top. 2 o'clock, Irish time. Admission 1 shilling. And it says, come in your thousands. On that night there was a dance in the Kingarrow Ballroom, which is still there, I think. The names would be right saying that. Kingarrow Hall, not sure. So that's not much information then about the next few years, because the War of Independence was on, like Civil War and different things like that. So the GAA is often credited with being a peacemaker and not a political event. They brought the two sides together and being non-political. But there was a revival then in 1924 or so, and the team was just called Derrylin. And there was a competition held that time between East and West Fermanagh. And there were a number of Derrylin O'Connell's players in that: Jim McBrien, T. Cathcart, and Jim Donoghue, which would be Jim McManus, I would think, which is connected with Brian. People had names then, so many McManuses in Fermanagh, but they all got not a nickname, but an identification name. So Jim Donoghue, as he was known several times afterwards, they played in the Cleanish colours, which was red and black. It was even Cleanish at that time, played in red and black. Blake's Lorry, why is that there? 1925. Well, very good reason. I refer you to a court case in Newton Butler Court House in that particular year, May of 1925. And the court case indicates that the driver of a lorry, which was this lorry, the driver of the lorry was summoned for using a motor vehicle to carry passengers when it was not registered as a hackney carriage. The driver humbly said that it was the first time he had ever done this, because it was only a new lorry, and he faithfully promised never to do it again. And the judge took pity on him and let him off with a caution. And the driver's name was, on the records, was James Gunn of Cloughan. That was my father. So I'm a potential son of a possible convict. Another thing happened that year, or early the following year, we're not sure. Just go back 1 second, just for a second. That year. This one is called the Battle of Drummondymore. The O'Connells went up to play in Drummondymore, to play in the Shamrocks at Drummondymore. And there was a row. Tommy Clark of Teemore was seriously injured, up unconscious. I think he didn't play football again ever. But a fierce row ensued. And at that time there was a squadron of specials housed up at Beach Hill, which is off the Crook Road. They had come to see the match as well. And taking their civil duties seriously, they stepped in to settle the row between the two teams. Whereupon the two sets of supporters set upon them and gave them a hide, the result of which one of them got a broken leg. And they had to scamper back over the hills to Beach Hill again. And then the battle resumed after that. Derrylin O'Connell's disappeared then for a while after that. Never know where they went to. But they disappeared anyway. And just final one on that there. 1926, following year, the first handball alley ever in Fermanagh was constructed up behind where Blake's pub is there now. Some people may remember it was ended up as a coal yard eventually. In 1926, where the Mac Hire business is now, just roughly there, that's where it was. There had been another one built, strangely enough, in the Canonic Barracks in 1903, because handball was regarded as a sport that they could play inside without having to come out into the country. So, but this is the first public handball alley in Fermanagh, 1926. So There you go, that's it. See, I'll hand over to Martin now for history, but that's.
This is a photograph of the first photograph of the Harps team from 1928, and it's the first team that ever won a man senior football championship. And again, you look at the quality of that photograph compared to the two I was talking about earlier. There's huge. First of all, we've only got, well, I've had to put out half the team as a photograph with badly framed, but whether there's only that number of players that we've gathered up, I don't know, but there's a number of players missing from it. Mixture of jerseys. There's 2, 3, 4 men, I think, in their ordinary clothes and their waistcoats and working clothes. So that was certainly, I'd say, taken by somebody at home on holidays in a rush with a camera and snapped it before they left and gathered up whoever they could find. But anyway, that was, of course, we say, great Harps team, because this was just starting the best period of the Harps, the reform again after the row that Tommy talked about. The reform in 1927, but they got to the championship final, but the championship final wasn't played until 1928. That was common in those days, that even though Ireland finals ran into the following year, so to a championship level. The captain of the team was Jim McManus, Brian's father. He's second from the left in the front row there. He's actually holding the ball, but you can't see the ball too well in the photograph, but the colour of it. The names are on them there. The back row, Benny McGuire, Tom McGuire, Con Boyle, McNamara. You have Tom Boyle, McNamara, Tommy Cathcart, who would be the father of John Cathcart, grandfather of Declan, the great grandfather of Tomas Cathcart, who played so well for us in the Edmonds on Friday. Lawrence Rourke, living up just opposite Tommy Gunn, opposite the church, Paddy Regan. And then the front row, Pat McGuire, Jim McManus, Benny O'Rourke, and Joe McGuire. Tommy McGuire, Tom McDonald, and Jim McGuire are missing. But the following, in fact, that they led 1-2, they were playing Lisnaskea, were a strong team at the time. They led 1-2 at half time. Tom Boyle and Benny Ware getting and captain Jim McManus getting the points, Tom Boyle getting the goal. The second half, Benny Ware hit 2 more goals, and Jim McManus got a point, and they won it 3-3 to a goal, so a fairly comprehensive win. The following day, the very next day, Thomas MacDonald, who was a key figure in the team, left to join the Guards. And that more or less ended his career with Derrylin. He did feature for Derrylin, and certainly featured for Banna and for Ulster in the years ahead. Now, the next photograph, now, this is the ski team. You may be asking, what the heck is the ski team doing in Derrylin history? Well, in fact, that's the team that Derrylin Harps beat in the final. And if you count over 1, 2, 3, 4 in the back row, that big tall man is Johnny McGurton, a man I referred to earlier, a brother of Jim McGurton's, who was goalkeeper for the Harps. But that year, Johnny was playing Lisnaskea, because in the hiatus, when there was no team in Derrylin, Johnny went to Lisnaskea. Or maybe Lisnaskea came for him, but I heard he used to send a car for him. In those days, there were no bridges across the road, so he probably had to go by Baltorbert around the Water Bridge in that way. But Lisnaskea would prefer to do that. But Johnny played against his own team and against his own brother in the 1927 final, played in 1928. The following year, the same two teams got in the final again. Lisnaskea won this time. I don't know whether Johnny was playing, who he played for that time, or whether he played someone with no record of it. But it was interesting, right? Next one, just please, can I have? Now, the Harps wore blue jerseys with a white V in them. Some of the players in that front. And that photograph were doing that. Now this flag, Tommy Woodlow, has got a heart it belongs to Liam Boyle, but it belonged to his mother, that's where he got it from. It's got a harp and it's got an Knocknilly, but we're not sure there's actually a Knocknilly Harps flag. Because it's actually originally green, I think, it's in colour. And we think it might be flag related to the Eucharistic Congress in 1932, because it dates from around that time. They did go organised groups from different parishes to the Eucharistic Congress in Dublin in 1932, and it's quite possible that they went one from Knocknilly and had that flag with them. My own grandmother, my mother's mother, was at the Eucharistic Congress. She lived in Trannis Island. I don't know what she went from to ski or nothing, but they always went to Mass and nothing. So she may travel on an excursion to the Bristol Congress. But anyway, okay, next one. Now, we don't know for sure that there's now sort of days as usual. We're not sure about whether the Harps had a flag or not, but they did have a song written about it. And the only recorded song that we know of ever written about Derrylin Teemore, and I hope my Canoli friends will apologise or accept my apologies, it's for a match between the Harps and Canoli, and it was played in the month of November. And I just read it because it's got a very catchy, it's a bit hard to get the words there, it's got a very catchy beat. It was written by John Murphy of Backlamad, who would be the grandfather of John, the great-grandfather of Mark Murphy, who played for Fermanagh in 1904 or 2004, and who wrote the songwriter. On the 5th day of November, we all were on the move, and many Harps went down to play Canoli Brian Barrows. The day was bad, the field was worse, as you might understand, but still our boys all gathered to meet them man for man. The teams went dressed and took the field, the hour being 3:30. Jim Kelly from Killy Rover, he acted as referee. He lined them out midfield, the rules he did define. Each team had a goal umpire and a man to keep the line. The coin was spun and play begun, the Harps would face the breeze. The stormy goal they did defend with all apparent ease. Like films on a picture screen, the centre field did play. Our forwards were equal to a Kerry team that day. The defence book by Brian Barrows was elegant to see. The struggle for supremacy like pirates on the sea. And aided by the storm, they landed some fine shots, but only 2 of them reached their intended spot. The courage of our gallant Harps was like the British Star. For in the first 10 minutes, the ball went over the bar. With 20 minutes more to go, Canoli tried to shine before the whistle would announce the arrival at 10:30. The march round to centre field, where there they got some rest, and the captain told each player to do with mighty best. They had their hands to cross without delay, and play was begun, and scarcely 20 minutes, setting out the sun. Our captain's orders were obeyed, it was soon to be found, for the ball was confined on the Canoli ground. With the pressure of the grand attack, it was a wild surprise, for the Harps umpire was called upon the white flag to rise. The ball was more in motion, excitement did run high, as dusk was slowly falling on the cold November sky. Getting emotional there. Soon our forwards got possession, and some sportsmen lost their bet. For another instant, the ball was in the net. So to conclude and finish, McBrien won the prize. Although Canoli done their best, they could not equalise. When the final whistle sounded, there was a wild uproar. The Harps had won, Canoli's done, the score being 5-4. The few times we managed to beat Canoli. Right, okay, next one. Now, this is another again, a distant one to New York from Anarchy. And you might again be asking, what's a New York team doing in Derrylin tonight? Well, in fact, among the Fermanagh exiled in New York in 1930, they founded the Fermanagh Men's Association in New York. And that association went on to present the first New York Gold Cup to the Fermanagh County Senior Champions, which was first played for in 1948. And this is ski coming to the peak of the run with the first winners. It was then replaced in 1968, or 1998, with the current New York Cup because it was beginning to fall into disrepair. The original cup is in Croke Park Museum. The cup in 1998 was for the final between Enniskillen and Devonish. So happened to Robert and myself. The New York people were very keen, they came over the cup, were very keen to present it. But unfortunately, the final was postponed on the day before, the Saturday, due to the death of County Chairman Joe McGordon's son. They were fixed for the following Sunday and ended in a draw. So the New Yorkers had to go back, they couldn't get to the replay and didn't get what happened in the draw. But Enniskillen were the first winners, and it started with a great 6 in a row run. But anyway, the reason why is because Derrylin men were among the founders of the association. There are 2 of them in the back row there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7 across. 2 McBrien brothers, Benny and Pat from down at Corrigaha. I think they were known as the Sheriff McGuire's. The man in the front row, 1, 2, 3, 4 from the right, here, has connection with both drums. Because he's Paddy Drum, he's a father, he played, he did not produce, and he emigrated to America. He did play for Teemore before he emigrated to America. When he came home, he bought a farm in Cornerno, and he settled there, reared his family of 5 sons. The Drummond brothers, Paddy, probably the best known of them, Jerry is still surviving, Frank and Hughie and Joe. Frank and Hugh, you may remember, died within a day of each other back some years ago, and Joe died a month later. It was a dreadful time for Jerry, especially, still a survivor. Paddy, of course, as a back to him later, was a great Derrylin man, played the 1957 winning team and the 1967 winning team. So there's another man there, second from the left in the back. His name is Tommy McManus from Derrylin, but I don't know what football connections he had with Derrylin. I don't really know what McManus he was.
Martin, that's an uncle of mine, Martin, as well.
Sorry? Brian.
An uncle of mine.
He's an uncle of Brian.
Right, up here. Oh, look, that's an exhaust company. Thanks, Brian. Right. Good to know that. Second from the left there in the back row. Now, we move on. Now, the McBrien Cup team, and again, you might say, what's the McBrien Cup team doing? Well, the captain in the centre at the middle row there, holding the cup, is Eamon MacDonald. Youngest of the famous MacDonald brothers from Cornhill up here. Now, Eamon was, if anybody asked who was the best footballer certainly ever Derrylin produced, without a question, it was Eamon MacDonald. And in fact, there's a big argument about the best footballer Fermanagh ever produced, long before there was any All-Stars. Eamon, in that year of 1933, he set a record that has never been equalled and probably never will be equalled. He captained St Michael's McBrien team. That actually was the first McBrien team from St Michael's, time after the competition. He was their captain. He captained Fermanagh minors, he captained Fermanagh seniors, and he captained the Ulster Colleges team, all in the 1 year, at the age of less than 18. And the only man that came close to him, and funny, it was the very same year, was Big Tom Riley from Cavan. Now, Big Tom was the older brother of John Joe, the famous gallant John Joe, and he was the original Big Tom. He didn't play any music, of course, but Tom captained Cavan minors, played for Cavan minors, played for Cavan juniors, and played for Cavan seniors the same year, in 1933. And he played centre half back on the Cavan team that won the first All Ireland, or second All Ireland, no, 1930, won the first All Ireland in 1933. Big Tom Riley was centre half back at the age of 18 years of age. And that's the man that Eamon MacDonald had a similar record to. So if we move on now to the next photograph, we'll just skip on and come back to that one. This is the Fermanagh team of 1935. This was arguably, in no disrespect to the 2014, probably the best Fermanagh team that ever came out of the county. They got to the Ulster final, who had met Cavan, who had won the Ireland in 33, who actually went on to win the Ireland in 35 as well. They were beaten by 4 points, and the final was played in Beltorta. There were 3 MacDonald brothers on that team from Derrylin. There was Eamon, who's back on the last one here on the right. There was Thomas, who I mentioned before, here. Then midfield, and there was Charlie. He had a family who was centre half forward. 3 brothers, 3 key positions. So quite a number of other well-known figures in that team. The goalkeeper from Teemore, Derrylin. I'm sure people will have heard of Derrylin. And you can't see it too clearly in the photograph. He's holding a horseshoe. Always brought a horseshoe with him for luck and put it beside the post. Or behind the post for good luck. Was a fine goalkeeper. There's Terry Baxter from Kinnaul. He was the grandfather of the present Terence Baxter. Okay.
You don't see that as well? Frank Dorsey's policy.
Yeah, but Frank Johnson. Frank Johnson.
Hugh Dorsey.
Yeah,
Father Brian.
Yeah, the Henry folks are ahead. Hugh Dorsey, Father Brian's father. McBrien, the man that Stan and Childers was named after. He played for Aberdeen, he played for Ulster too. Jerry McGee, who was mentioned a few times. Kieran mentioned him one time in his address from Ermstown, was county chairman for a good while. Jim McCullough, who was actually from Armagh, worked in Enniskillen and played for Fermanagh, and was a tremendous player. Really, men used to be old men in my time. We're talking with Jim McCullough, that he was an outstanding player. He played for both Fermanagh and Armagh and Ulster.
That Pat Donoghue was Pierce. Martin, something.
That's right, he'd be connection with my own family. Yeah, an uncle of Pierce Martins. His mother and Pierce's mother and father were brother and sister. And father, Willie Cartney, here from Garrison, was the brother or the uncle of Jim Cartney, who trained our 1996 or 97 intermediate winning team, and Peter Cartney, of course, who was county chairman, well known firm. Now, that was a great Fermanagh team. They lost the Ulster final. The following year, and this is an indication of the time, in 1936, the Fermanagh team had lined out in the championship. Only 4 of those men were still there, through either injury, emigration, and retirement. And one of the 4 was Pat O'Reilly, still there. But that just shows how many men, the kind of teams, even at county level, teams came and went. Right. And there's just another photograph. Again, these strange photographs keep coming up. This is an Ulster team in 1935, the Ulster team. And here in the centre is Derrylin McBrien, played for Ulster. Charlie MacDonald played for the Irish Army team, and he played for Ulster. Thomas MacDonald played for the Garda team, the Irish Guards team, and he played for Ulster. But Eamon McBrien, he played for Ulster. And right behind him is Big Tom Riley. And there, Calvin man, the same record. And there, this is a unique photograph that links the two great footballing families in the parish. It's Jack Clark, who had here mentioned, Derrylin Teemore, and he was presented or inducted into the Cavan Hall of Fame in 1977. Jack played on the first Cavan team to ever got to the Ireland final. He was wing half back in 1928 when they lost to Kildare. And he actually managed the team, was involved in managing the team when they actually won in 33. He was Cavan County Secretary for a long number of years, a highly respected figure, and he got the award, and he's been recognized by Thomas MacDonald. Thomas was a Garda in Armagh for a long part of his career. And I remember talking about McDonald's, there were 5 of them, on one occasion, all four of the brothers lined out for Fermanagh. And the eldest was Jack. And again, it was there in a lesson, a life lesson, if you like. When I started going to Mass, or again, being brought to Mass in Jimmy Golden's factory car, we used to see an old man walking down the village, literally bent double on a stick, well dressed, wearing a hat. And I remember, even as a youngster, admiring his courage in facing out. And I found out after who he was. It was Jack MacDonald. And I just thought that, if only I had known the man he was in his day, one of the best footballers all around. But he was from the ravages of old age. And I think bad injury he got during his duty as a guard on one occasion. Just when it's been back, That is there, we have different, it's original writing. It's an extract from the minute book of McBrien Harps in 1932. I can't exactly holding up the actual minute book. Now, this is an extract, I'm not going to read it all of their annual general meeting held on the 7th of the 11th, 7th of November 1932. And the secretary, the man who recorded the minutes, was Master McBrien. He was called Michael McBrien. He was principal teacher down in the old St. Nini's primary school for a long time in the 50s and the early 60s. The poor man dropped dead suddenly in a shop in Cavan about 1963, coming out after visiting his son, who was Raymond, who's still with us, who was a student at St. Patrick's College in Cavan. But anyway, just mention a couple of the items that they dealt with, which gives again a flavour of the times. The recent victory dance that won the championship, the Harps won the championship in 1932. I forgot to mention that. They beat Ballinelec, Hugh Darcy, we were there playing for Ballinelec. It was played in where our top pitch is now, in Derrylin, believe it or not, and it was refereed by Derrylin man Peter Maguire, one of the Anthony Maguires, Peter Anthony, who was a great GAA man, who also refereed the 1928 final, the one that the Harps won. And that was common in those days. There weren't many referees, and referees who were trusted. Referees their own teams. I doubt if we get away with it nowadays, but they got away with it those days. But anyway, there was a complaint at the meeting that at the celebration that local fiddlers should have been included. There was strong protest voice against foreign dances of barbaric origin. There was an appeal to the county board to rescind 12-month suspensions imposed on Charlie McDonald and Terence Baxter, who were sent off in a Derrylin Teemore match. And there was a proposal to delete some referees' names from the official list that had too much power. Even in those days, plural referees were...
One of them was called Martin McBrien.
We rapidly move on.
Right. But that's the official, that's the unique kind of a document. It's nearly 100 years old, that book. And the copperplate writing in it, 1932. Finish of that book. Thanks, Martin. Right,
Eugene, look as well.
photograph there. The right photograph there.
Battle. So the third and first. Second. And where's then Eugene?
Sorry.
He's fourth, isn't he?
Right, 29 Really Harps. This is the last photograph that we have of the Knocknilly Harps, 1937 team. It was their final match. I'll just quickly call out the names of the team there. Back row, left to right, would be P. Lee, Phil McManus, Mick Winterson, Tommy Gilroy, Eugene Winterson, P. McGuire and Johnny Gunn. That's the last in the back row. On the front row, Johnny Shannon, Benny Gilroy, Eugene Conley, Jim McManus, Jim O'Connor, John Flanagan and Mickey McAvey. That was the last team. And the next one was the lineup of the team on that particular day, 1937. Following on from that, nothing much happened for a couple of years, and then a new team emerged in the New Line area. The New Line area is up near Martin's Way there, in the Liston Ski Road up there, where you turn on Shannon's, the late Jimmy Shannon's house there, into the right. This road was straight on there down to the Carthiston Road, which was built during the famine times, called the New Line, down that road there. So this team is called the New Line team, and it was organised in 1940-41, around that particular time. And that's a line out of it there, of the first team that got to the final in 1941. We got to the junior championship final. There was a bit of a dispute at the time in the parish between the Harps, which were still there, and this new O'Connell's team. And the late Phil Cairn was at the county board meeting, and he made a statement at that particular time at the county board meeting in March, which said, any animosity between the Knocknilly Harps seniors and the O'Connell's juniors has now been resolved, and there is goodwill all around. I don't know whether there was or not, but that's what he said at the time. And three members of the Harps team, Jim O'Connor, Johnny Shannon, and a man called T. Murphy, were designated junior and were transferred to this O'Connell's team, away from the Harps. So they won the final against Derrylin. They got to the junior final. The final was played at Derrylin Bridge. Anyone remembers the old Derrylin Bridge? There's a wee road that goes off to the left in there, a field in there, against Derrylin. Very wet field. The O'Connells were younger and faster, but with 5 minutes to go, the score was 1 point each. But in the last 5 minutes, the O'Connells scored 3 points, and the final score was 4 points to the O'Connells, 1 point to Derrylin. The scorers were Jim Sweeney got 2 points, Jim O'Connor a point, and John Shannon a point. And that late Jim Sweeney died a couple of years later. When he was out cutting the hedge, he got pricked with a thorn and died of, I suppose, sepsis. The team captain was P. Lee, and who would be the father of Mickey Lee, a well-known choice. The cup was presented by Jim Dunn, who was mentioned earlier on, Master of in the OH Hall just up the road. That same year as well, a Camogie club was formed in Derrylin. And there's one of that team, believe it or not, still alive, which was Aggie Gilroy at the time. Aggie owns she is now. Lives in Kinolly, over 100 years old. And she was a member of that first camogie team in Derrylin, along with her sister, Theresa McManus, who lived up the road for a while, and some of Martin's aunts, Martin's aunts, McBrien sisters, a lady called Eileen Corrigan from Kilkenny was part of that team as well. So that's that particular year. When that team won the championship, they then went senior. So there were two senior teams in Derrylin at that particular time. In 1942, they both played each other in the league, just not far from where you are. We reckon in the Kilkenny Road, at the back of where the Kellier Park houses are, just opposite the wee turn for Cornwall. There's a field in there, owned by the Blakes. The matches were played in there. The O'Connells that we mentioned earlier on played in black and white. That team that won that championship played with a black jersey with a white sash on. And we reckon the Harps were playing in blue and white. So which team got that field to play, we're not sure. But they put up the goalposts and painted them in their own colours. Still black and white. But the night before the match, the colours were suddenly changed and were blue and white the next day, or vice versa, for that particular match. The Harps won both matches, those two matches, but both were sporting games, we're told. And the referee in both occasions was Peter Ampey, who was mentioned earlier on. He refereed both matches. So that was unusual in the league match, two teams from the same parish, refereed by a man from the same parish. Everybody knew each other, but they were played in good spirits, so it says here. Then what happened in 1943, O'Connells were suspended. Nobody knows why, but they were suspended. They disappeared completely, but were resurrected again in 1944. And this was the meeting held in the AOH Hall. And that was the committee at the time. Chairman was Peter McGuire and Peter Anthony that we mentioned earlier on. Jim Gordon was the chairman, I don't know who that was, could have been in I'm not sure. Philip McCarran in the head, P. Lee, Frank Blake was the treasurer, and that was the committee members all down there at the bottom. And the first match they had was on June, where they beat the Shamrocks 3-4 to 6 points. Only a few titles. Right. So that was that particular one there. Then the next one we have is a match where, well, before that, there was another match, and this was an interesting one. We played a match in Kinolly, and they got a message through the newspaper. It said that all team members were to meet at Mares's Cross with their bicycles, their boots, and their togs to travel all together to Kinolly on their bicycles. That was the route, and the same happened in the match at Teemore shortly after that. And just quickly to digress, there was a match played that year between Cavan and Fermanagh, an Ulster Senior Cavan and Fermanagh championship match, which Cavan won. But Benny Lunny of in the road, Iggy's uncle, was on the team, on the Fermanagh team that particular day. But Cavan had a sub brought on called John Willie Martin, came on as a sub. Now it turned out he was from Templeport, John Willie Martin, and it turned out they had relations, relations in this area here. His father actually was James Martin, who was one of the original founders of the Teemore Shamrocks Club, came from Cullion. He came on as a sub, but he used to be down quite a bit in the area, visiting his relatives in Derrylin. And one day, he was down one weekend, the O'Connells had a match. They hadn't enough players, so he was asked to play with them, which was common enough at the time too, I suppose. He did come on, he did play. He had 4 or 5 Ulster medals in his back pocket at this stage, because Cavan were going well at that particular time. So as the saying goes, he played the field, nobody could mark him at all. He was known just as Johnny to everybody else on the team. The following week, the Fermanagh County's board sent a message out to Derrylin. Who is this Johnny that has suddenly arrived in Derrylin? We need him for the Fermanagh County team. And the message went back to him to say, oh, we're sorry, he has left the country. Which in fact was technically correct, because he had crossed the border back into Canada. So the Johnny disappeared. Right, this is the senior 45 senior football championship semi-final between Lisnaskey and Derrylin. And what happened there was that Sonny Gunn, who played at Derrylin from Carthusian, also had relatives in Lisnaskey, and he had gone to play with Lisnaskey that particular time. And Lisnaskey beat Derrylin for that particular final. Sonny Gunn was one of the main men on the Lisnaskey team, the star of the team. So a deputation was organised to go and teach Sonny Gunn a lesson, but I don't think it ever happened. The lesson was never given or learned. Then it disappeared more that football wasn't great at the time for a while in Derrylin, and there was a parish priest came to Derrylin, Father Sheridan, arrived in Derrylin in 1947 as a cure. Went to a couple of matches, was disgusted with what he saw, and decided he would teach them a lesson how to play football. He brought St Pat's College team down to play Derrylin, and they arrived in a bus all togged out and got out and do their training or their warm up on the match, where the Derrylin boys were still togged out behind the hedge. And the match began. St Pat's got the ball, passed it among themselves, goal. Kicked the ball out. A couple of minutes later, another great passing movement, back in again, another goal. Kicked out again, ball secured by Calvin once more, heading in for the goals again, when one of the Derrylin boys levelled the Calvin foul. A row broke out, and Father Sheridan came running, "Oh my boys, my goodness, what's happening? Terrible." And one of the Derrylin men supposed to have said to him, "Don't worry about it, Father, there's 2 of our men lying dead in the river since the last match." So take it as read, you just carry on and take what's coming to you. Right, that the 1957, the 1957 then, that the team was resurrected again, as I say, that particular time. 1957, they got reorganised, and they played very well in 1957, got to the junior championship, or to the junior league final in Lisnaskey, where they beat Temple in the final. And this is the team that won the cup in 1957. Tom Gleeson was sent off in the second half, but the team rallied around, did very well. A lot of very young players on that particular team. Quickly, if you look at them there, from Father Pete Cassidy at the back, and, of the mill, Pat Dugan, Joe Shannon, Joe Drum, Tom Gleeson, Luke McGovern from Kinolly, who was working Lakes at the time, Packy Watterson, Paddy McGuire, Paddy McKenna, I'll come to him again in a second, and Sonny Gunn on the right hand side. And the front row is Pat McGrath, Tony Lunny, Seamus Riley, Paddy Drum, John Cassidy, Eamon Lynham, and Pat Flanagan. That was the team. They decided to get their photograph taken, went to Hudson Studio in Enniskillen to go back one to that one. They got the 4 mentors with them, Johnny McGuire at the back, and the father at the front, Sean Lynham on the right, and Benny McBrien on the front there. But they went to Hudson Studio in Enniskillen to get the photograph taken, and all lined up. And the man put a big hood over his head and taking the photograph at the time. And one of the drivers was there, he was standing behind the photographer, and he thought he was taking a weak turn, grabbed onto the handle of the door, thought he was going to faint, but in fact he wasn't, because what happened was, the weight of all these players, the floor collapsed and they all fell into the cellar down below. And frightened the life out of them. Nobody was injured, thankfully. And they went back a couple of weeks later to another studio to get the photograph taken. Now, if you can just quickly, we don't want to delay too long. If you look at the back row there between Paddy McGuire and Sonny Gunn, I'll go back to the other one, Kenny, the other photograph. There's a new man has appeared between Paddy McGuire and Sonny Gunn, and that's Paddy McKenna. The reason he's there, he's photoshopped in to that photograph because between the first photograph being taken where they all fell through the floor and the second photograph being taken, he had gone to America. He never returned until recently. He was dead a few years ago. So that's how he appears in that photograph. Paddy Drum had just walked, the parish priest that Father Sheridan had mentioned. He had just been transferred to someplace else, and he sold his car, which was a standard Vanguard of any car people here. And Paddy Drum had bought his car, which was kind of a wonder at the time that anybody would buy a parish priest car. So that's what happened here. That was that one there. Just skip on for a second, Kenny Martin, and come back to that one there. We weren't that one there, Martin. Come back to that one later on.
Yeah.
Come back to that later.
Brilliant.
58 to 60 barren years, nothing much happened. Just the team went up and down, played matches, lost several finals, whatever. In 1967, they won the Junior League Championship double. That's the team there that won that. Still some of the same members at the back. You can read the names there of the different players. Some very talented and good-looking fellows there, particularly the right hand side of the middle row. But that was that particular team there. Packing Watterson, who's down third from the right, he'll be playing the 57 team. The two drums on the 57 team as well. But they're Paddy and Joe there in the second row, on the back row there. Packing was the referee at that stage, but he turned up that day for the photograph and hopped in. He played a sub with him in one of them. Get into the photograph later. Nothing much happened then after that. They didn't progress all that well. 1969, they bought a piece of parish land down where the pitch is now in 69, and it was developed over the years by a number of volunteers. Every Saturday, people came out. We just put those two on. People came out Saturdays with tractors and trailers and all kinds of things. And the field was lined out eventually about 1974 or thereabouts. And Brian McManus is down there. He doesn't remember this, but I do. When the field was level, the grass was sowed on it. Brian was working for the electricity board. It just started at the time. It was regular man that knew how to line poles up or whatever, would be able to draw straight lines. So he was commissioned to work out the corner flag. Went to James Cassidy's shop, which was across the road, got 3 pieces of wood to make a triangle, a 3, 4, 5 triangle for a right angle. And Brian himself and a couple of others were down on Saturday and lined out the corner of it, and the whole pitch was then lined out from these 3 bits of wood. And it was surveyed later on with a theodolite, and was only about a foot out of line. So well done, Brian. The other thing that I remember about that is the goalposts were made by Teemore Engineering, Victor Wilson's. P. McGuire, who was the technology teacher up in St. Aidan's at the time, drew out a plan of the goalposts and measurements and all the rest and everything to scale, and brought it up to Teemore Engineering to say this is what they wanted. And Victor Wilson took a look at it and he said, right, he says, he didn't know much about Gaelic at the time, Victor. He said, look, he says, right, you need a couple of structures in the shape of a big H with a couple of bendy bits of iron welded onto the back of it. So that's what happened. So there's the theory man and the practical man together. So they then, next one then is 74. We won the first league team, first Division 3 title. Again, you see the photographs of the names on the left-hand side. The only thing that's missing in that photograph there is a barber. So, Mark.
Go forward, or keep going forward. That's up there. The reason I'm honing in that photograph is about this 1974 club committee. With 5 of the men in that photograph went on to become club presidents, and each of them played a huge role in the development of football in Derrylin over the years. And I just run through them very quickly. Paddy McBrien, I'm sure most of you know there, is in the back there. No, sorry, yeah, he is. He's second from the left. He's the young man there on the very left is here present tonight, believe it or not. Brian Cassidy, who was assistant treasurer at the time of 1974. Then Paddy McGuire is next to him. Next to Paddy is another young man there who's here tonight too, down the back, Thomas McGoldrick, member of the committee that time. But Paddy McGuire was synonymous with Derrylin for 40, 50 years. He first featured in 1940 as a young 16-year-old in the dressing room in Lisnaskey when Derrylin were preparing to play Newton Butler in the senior championship final. And a well-meaning supporter, as was done at the time, was going round the players with a bottle of clear stuff Take a slug with this, it'll do you good. And he came to Paddy and said the same, and he gave you courage. Paddy says, no thanks, I think I have enough courage already. And that even summed Paddy up. But anyway, he played a great player. He played midfield for Fermanagh for a number of years, along with his club mate Benny Lunny. He won a senior championship medal with Lisnaskee in 1950 when there was no team in Derrylin. Paddy went to Lisnaskee. He actually played 2 finals with them, but one of them Lisnaskee lost. So he won a championship medal. He came back in Derrylin in 1951 when they were reformed. He was secretary at the club for nearly 20 years. He served on the county board as a registrar. And in 2004, in the Fermanagh organised a centenary parade through Enniskillen to Brewster Park to mark the centenary of the association. Paddy McBrien and Benny Lunny were given the honour of leading that parade and in process of being inducted into the Fermanagh Hall of Fame. And it was a great honour and a great honour for the club for those 2 men to be so selected, and a fitting recognition for Jim. Benny, of course, emigrated to England when he was a young man, and that put his promising career short. But while he was with Derrylin, he was an outstanding midfielder. And next one I want to talk about is Benny McBrien, sitting here, I think. Clear an interest, an uncle of my own. Benny played on the 1941 O'Connell's team, as did my father, who was in goals. Benny, again, was a long associate with the club. He was chairman from 74 to 78. He was a famous, well-known car driver for the county teams. He was a Blackpool consul for about 20 years and had travelled the roads of Ireland, bringing county even over to London in 1959 when they went over for the final. The Fishline Benny went with them, of course. And I remember that the 21st anniversary celebrations of 1959 victory. And Tom Fee, who was the MC and a former county secretary, said that no celebration in 1959 would be complete without Benny McBrien. And Benny was there. Benny was also a club referee. One particular time, he was refereeing a minor match in Lisnaskee. It was Derrylin and Teemore combined were playing Newton Butler in the championship final. Newton Butler was the top team by a mile in Fermanagh, and nobody gave our boys a chance. But people were winning, and winning fairly well with about 6 minutes to go. And Benny was so excited with the team winning, they blew the final whistle. And of course, the whole Newton Butler was sent upon him. And I said to him, what did you say? What do they think? He said, it was my watch stopped. Anyway, the match was replayed and Derrylin Teemore were well beaten in this thing. But just on the other side of the coin, Benny had to leave another match in Lisnaskee, not very long after the refereeing, in entirely different circumstances, when he got the news his young 4-year-old son had been drowned off Colorado Feed. So things like that put football in perspective. At the end of the day, we fought out about, we argued about, it's only a game. As Jurgen Klopp said, it's the most important of the least important things. I think that's the way it should be looked at. Although halfway during a championship match, you wouldn't get much credit for saying that. Paddy Drum, of course. Paddy Drum there's second left, Paddy was a real character altogether. He's well, I'm sure many of you remember him. He was a great community man. He was a great worker in every way. Paddy played in the 1957 team. He captained it. He played in the 1967 team as well. He was club chairman. He took over a different time in the club. In fact, he was a great man for defusing the argument with just having saying the right words, making a witty comment. Paddy was very quick with it. Himself, a friend of his, he had a butcher shop down in where Captain McGovern's garage is now first. Then he moved down to the smaller area. But anyway, we're always trying another. And the friend came into the shop this morning and said, Paddy, that old beef of yours drum, if you could nail it to the doorpost and it stretched the pound cross. Now, the man himself had been involved in a small accident in the Pound Cross a few weeks before that. He drove into the back of somebody wearing Torben right. And Paddy said to him, and if you read some of it, you'd got round the Pound Cross. Next one is in the front row is John Drum. John is the type of man that every club in the county needs and has, and gets very little limelight, doesn't seek any limelight, always in the background. John never kicked the ball rail in his life. We were a great, loyal club worker. He done the menial jobs like gate man and umpire and those are the doorman, those type of jobs. He hardly ever missed a match, and he was elected as a club president. That's the type of man that doesn't get recognition he should get. And the other one that I have to mention Constable is the man, the small wee man on the left hand side in the front there, with Charlie Cathcart. And anyway, when you thought about Derrylin football, we know the Charlie Cathcart was something special. Charlie again never played football. Charlie was a character. He was the type of character that in those days, back in the 40s and 50s, that time, every club had a character. You know, who were around the sideline and drawing attention to them and so on. Well, meaning no harm and doing no harm. But unfortunately, they're all gone now. The fun's gone out of football in many ways. So it is. But Charlie never missed a match. We never saw much of a match either. Because he spent the whole time around the sideline arguing with the opposing fans. And then what he said, this also what he said back and so on. So anyway, Charlie died anyway, in 1982, and I wrote an obituary for the paper, the first obituary I ever wrote. And it stuck in my mind since that. I've done a number of since, all right. And just what I said. For now in 50 years, Charlie faithfully washed and loving care for the jerseys. Guns, as he always called them. He always came with a battered suitcase for the jerseys. Generation of Derrylin footballers played and retired, official committees were voted in and out, clubs disbanded and reformed, but through it all, Charlie carried on, unchanging forever it seemed, until the last final whistle blew for that Saturday morning. Charlie had a simple philosophy of football, but how correct he was. Conquer your man, stand on his toes. That was Charlie's message. But the actual game itself will be part of Charlie's involvement in the match. Just important to him would wrap our team with opposition supporters on the sideline. A quick-witted answer to the derisive comment was important to Charlie as a score for Derrylin. On the rare occasions when he was getting the worst of an argument, Charlie had one unanswerable comment, one unanswerable reply. But at least we wear good Republican colours. Just pop back to that previous photo, the 27 kind of, go back in on that's two men. Yeah. Now, over the years, obviously, many good men and women have served at Derrylin Club well. In the past 40 years or so, and long before, that's often over. Most of them are still with us. Thank some side of the corner. I'm thinking of former McBrien, a former chairman and president. County Secretary Paddy Donnelly was very active member of our club when we moved here from a native co. A lot of others, thankfully, are still with us. Thinking of like Vincey Martin, a long-serving treasurer president. Seamus Curry, another president. His brother Morris, our current chairman. Tommy Curry, who served as chairman and secretary. Marie Maguire, the club's first lady officer, and one of the first ladies to come to county board meetings and become involved in the GAA. And now, that's one of the biggest changes in recent years, and one of the most welcome changes, is the great involvement of ladies in GAA clubs. No, I don't think any GAA club would be able to function now really without lady involvement. And her husband Vincey and his family. But I think any reference, any history Derrylin would have to refer to those two men there. Peter Maguire from Draft, who's already been mentioned a number of times, he first mentioned in 1920 as a footballer, and then as a referee, and just shows the trust and respect which you held when he could handle match involvement with his own club. He was involved with the O'Connells when they first reformed. He was club secretary of the Hearts O'Connell Ferry Club through the 40s. That end, he was a county board man. He was just a leading figure in the club. In fact, myself and Tommy took a mad notion way back in the 70s that we'd research about the club history. We were running a great big nettle mad with Brian's father and John Joe McMahon and another couple of men. But we had planned to meet to talk to Peter as well. But unfortunately, he was knocked down on the road and killed outside our officer centres now just before we were going to meet him. The other man is Philip McCarn, Phil Carn, as he was always known. He was a great club man. He again was involved from the 1920s onwards. He never played football either. He was an officer of the club, a worker. He on the county board. He was instrumental in introducing minor football into Fermanagh in the 1930s, one of the main organisers. He was first chairman of the O'Connells when they were reformed in 1951 and remained in post until 1968. He was a great community man. He was county councillor for over 22 years. He retired at the age of 80 in 1970 and died the following year. His son, Benny, was the first secretary of the O'Connells when they were reformed. But he wasn't too long in the job because he emigrated to England. But tragically, he was victim of a loyalist murder in Belfast in the 1970s when he was kind of shankled butchered crews were operating. On his way back, on his way home, on a visit, he got off the ship and were heading for the bus. He unfortunately took a wrong turn in the wrong street, in the wrong premises, and that was, tragically murdered. Not a great cross that, the family had to bear if they was on the time, but it shows you, again, footballer's perspective. Yeah, back to the one right. Yeah, no, back. Yeah, the man with the glasses on the right hand side there is P. McBrien, dealing with the secretary at the time. And him and Benny came in together, and as chairman brought a new lease life into the club. But the reason I'm homing on P there is because in the late 70s we decided we were going to build dressing rooms, which was one small problem. We didn't have any money, and the government, the Stormont government, and their wisdom, had decided to cut off all grants to GAA clubs. So there was no money to be got there either. Croke Park had no money for clubs, there was no grants really anywhere. So we didn't know what to do, how to raise money. But Pete came up with the idea we'd run bingo. Bingo had never been run in Derrylin before. We hadn't a clue how to run it. Himself went to somewhere down in Glenfarne the week before we just to see how it was run. And anyway, we got started. Off to a bad start, our jacket went the second night. Down the bad road. The next one went nearly as quick, and by then the first year we were down money. But anyway, we persevered on, and then it started to take off. Oh well, it was in his hall, but the hall was getting quite full. So again, Pete came up with the idea that we'd link up with the AOH hall as it was there, the old hall that where Play School is now. That we'd link up there. So it was a mad idea, but we put a cable from the Ninny's hall through the fields where Knockninny Park and Clackenport are now, across the road, opposite the Credit Union, where the corner where the market used to be, every Friday evening, linked up the microphones in the AOH hall, and away we went. And you know what it worked the best. That was a breakdown. How it worked, I do not know. The bingo anyway, we got tremendous run on one particular jackpot. And it drew such a crowd, the hall was so full that we could, when somebody checked down the hall, we had a couple of stewards who'd bring the book up to the front up to get it checked out. They couldn't get through the crowd, and the books had to be passed up over the heads of the people in the hall. God bless it, talk about health and safety. But anyway, we were glad to see it going, but actually we were getting scared. We were very football. Before that, there was another night when we had a bomb scare, believe it or not, and we had to evacuate the hall and got everybody out safely, and then we had the police to come to check the hall and so on. But it was only a hoax. But we said then we put the same, we doubled the money the following week, and then people used the books. Christ bless the place was packed out again. It was the best night ever we had. We were nearly overnight. We thought of overnight, another couple of bombs scared, but decided against it. It wouldn't be wise. So, no, we didn't overnight first either. I guess yeah, the bingo then ran for about 5 or 6 years, every Friday night from September to June. We took a break for the couple of summer months. And then the hall closed for renovation, major renovation for a year or two, and then the parish stepped over us, in fact, didn't. Forgot to ask us about it. But the runners' course, we were glad to see it, and bingo stayed going to this day.
Right, we're coming on the outside. There's a lot here. But anyway, that's the club committee one. So we had the official opening of the pitch in 1983, which was the bottom pitch. 1983, and that's the platform party there. Sadly, nearly all those people have deceased, apart from a couple of the back row there. Father Brady, I think, still alive, as far as I know. The rest of us, so that was 80 club year there. Next one then was 85, 84, centenary year, 100 years since the GAA started. Those are all the old players who played, some from Teemore, Kinolly, Derrylin, played the old harps and old O'Connells. We've all got a celebration after the presentation. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. In that photograph there again is David McDonald. I was in there, the shoulder, and then he's a man. And you remember the Sonny Gunn, again he mentioned before, but similar to Tommy's story earlier. Sonny, when he came to ski, there was a barman in Frank McGuire who was from Ahawillan, and Ahawillan got to the county final in Leitrim, and he could persuade Sonny to come to the final and tug out for Ahawillan, and he gave one the name of James Eddie Quinn. Only played midfield. James Eddie Quinn, he was smuggled off the field after William won the match. He was smuggled off the field, bundled into a car, and didn't get taken in again until he got back to Scotland Bar, open Scotland Bar. And the following week, the Legion team was lying there in the paper, and James Eddie Quinn was midfield.
This 1985, good year 1985. This team won the double league and championship, junior league and championship. The interesting of that was the two semi-finals and the two finals were played on 4 consecutive weekends, and apparently the crowds grew bigger and bigger as each match went on ahead and the excitement grew. And the final match, I'm told, I wasn't at it, was a huge crowd, biggest crowd in Fermanagh for years. So you might remember some of the people in that photograph are maybe here tonight. They're not as young looking as they were then, but they're here. Sadly, on that particular occasion, one of the players, Sean Murphy, died a couple of weeks later after that, sadly. And also we had, of that particular team, Horton McGovern passed on, Adrian Power, Vincent McBrien, Jerry Loney, and then a few years later we had sad death of Keelan Witherson as well. So, as was mentioned earlier on, there are some things important, but some things are more important than that. So that's that particular team there. Next one then is the 1985, again this presentation of the trophies by Oliver Jones and by John Lazy. Martin Doherty was the captain that particular year. This was 1985 again, a good winning team, a combined minor team that won Section 8 Fermanagh winners. Young fella captain with the ball, third from the right. Tony might recognise him. He played for Derrylin for a good while. Moved to some wee team in Tyrone called Derrylin Teemore. Didn't do much of them. Went in the management then when he stopped playing. Did all right, I think. Not too bad. Maggie O'Rourke, of course. So we wish Maggie and his team all the best next weekend for playing against St. Bridget's. So that's Maggie, one of our star players of that particular era. Pat McGuire, 1986 Intermediate Championship winners. Pat McGuire now in Australia. Next one, 87 team. Won the Intermediate Football Championship for the second time. Again, I think you might recognise, a bit hazy, but you might recognise some of the players there in that particular one as well. Next year, they reached the final of Division 2. And then won a cup called the McBrien Cup. Next one, 91. Next one is minor team won a double in 94. And the next one, 95, won the league. Next one, hurling team. Hurling hadn't been in Derry then. Late Michael Cogan, Tom McGoldrick were instrumental in starting up Camogie. Michael, a Limerick man, good player this day. Won first under 12 hurling championship that particular year. Thankfully, hurling's revived again in the area with the Shane Mulholland Foundation. A team called St. Aidan's now, with people from Teemore, Clinton, I think Teemore Derrylin mostly, and going very well with Jonathan O'Connell in charge down there, playing with St. Aidan's most of the time, going very well. So hopefully that will continue. Some of those players that will join in with Lisnaskee when there was no senior team here, and won senior championship medals with Lisnaskee, Fergus Shannon and Eamon Gunn and Malachi Gunn. For those three. 1996, Fermanagh All-Ireland B champions. Back row there, you might see, second on the left. Justin Gilheeney. Scored a point, second half in that particular final.
one of the few people to win all Irish medals from Anna. We also had others, of course, mentioned David McDonald there before, Jonathan McBrien, college's medal with Tech, as it was then, Pat McGuire, Luke Flanagan there recently Hogan Cup medal with St Michael's. Next one, Kenny Hanks. Justin Gilhaney winning intermediate football championship. And then with 2 underage teams, 2000. Cal Riley, next one. Under 16 winners then, the next one. Erin Cup winners, next one again. And next one is a camogie team, which has started up again in 1968. We mentioned the earlier camogie team in the 1940s. This is 1968. Team we have resurrected, and that's the first match that they played. The original camogie team, formed in 1968. One of the ladies in that team, the treasurer, was Anne Martin. I was speaking to her there recently, and I come up and found it sometime around that time that entered a raffle for the Ulster Council, the £175 in a raffle for the camogie team. And I says, I don't remember that. I says, well, that's what the information that I have. She opened up her bag, she got a wee bag of stuff with her, took out a wee notebook and flicked through it. And I says, right, there's a cheque for £75 has come through already in that particular year, 1968 or 1969. I used to work in the post office right then, as you would know. So I was just thinking when she said that, the post office and this controversy with the postmistresses could be doing with people like Anne Martin to organise the show instead of what we were doing. The next one is a ladies football team, which is called now not many gates, started off in Derrylin, is now amalgamated with Teemore more or less, and so going very well, going from strength to strength. So as Martin indicated earlier on, ladies are a very important part of the GAA, so that team hopefully going on well as well. Other 14 winners as well, and just go back to that again there, Kenneth, the next one again, next one, keep going.
Going back forward.
Go forward. Yeah, go back that one there. The new pitch opened in 2010, the top pitch as we have it now at the minute, was opened up in 2010, and that was a platform party there at the time, with our presidents, and unfortunately all now deceased, second from the left, Tom McBrien, Paddy McGuire, second from the right, the back, Paddy Drum, and John Drum in the wheelchair, 2 men on the outside, Jim Tummel and Peter Clardy, and one in the middle still alive, that was 2010, particular one. Then 2014, won the intermediate championship. Went on to play St Paul's of Lurgan in the quarter-final, beat them, and were unfortunately beaten in the semi-final by Inniskeen of Monaghan. One of the things with the quarter-final win was that one of the main players for St Paul's was a guy called Andrew Murnan, who's now the star forward for Armagh. He was held scoreless that day, hardly got a ball that particular day against Derrylin. So nobody else has been able to mark him since that. This is the winning team. A bit of a mistake there we have, which is my fault. We have the captain was really there that particular day, not Paul McBrien. So apology to Paul or anybody that's related here to Paul. He wasn't the captain, I think it was really there just beside him. That was the presentation party that particular day. This was then 2021 won the junior championship. Some of the players ahead of that team are here today as well. And then a final one just before we would then run through a few other ones at the end without much comment to them. The next one is a combined team. Next one coming. There were many minor combined teams and underage teams here from Derrylin Teemore and sometimes Kinolly. So this was a combined minor team in 1968. Divided into 2 teams. And the next one was an interesting one. Martin mentioned the Ethan Butler being the top minor team in the county at that time. They actually won the Ulster Championships at St John's of Belfast, started an Ulster Minor League competition, or Ulster Minor Championship competition. Utah Butler won it. But this team here, the Derrylin Teemore team, played Utah Butler at that particular time in the tournament distance game, and we beat them. On the back there, John Murray, who was one of the mentors. Frank McManus, who came from Trosna Island, emigrated to England. John Cassidy, Brian's brother, who was mentioned earlier on as well. Now in Belfast, Pat Flanagan in England. Paddy Cassidy of Rathfure. Some young fella from Gortary was good at sums. Did well enough for himself, I think, later on. We used to go on the bus together to school with a penny, played poker on the back of the bus for a penny. When we got in the skill, he had a shilling and the rest of us had nothing. Peter Quinn, of course, Seamus Murray, brother of John's, Paddy McGuire at the back. Front row is wee Paddy McGuire from Killesher. Was working on Blake's shop at the time, goalkeeper. Val Cassidy, John's brother, former principal of St Aidan's there. Another man who went across the water, Petey Fitch, went across the water to listen to ski. Another fellow there, I don't know who that is, the next one, I don't know so much about him. And Joe Shannon, another Jimmy Shannon, who departed there just before Christmas. Joe went to America after that. So that was that minor thing. We just run through now a few of those photographs. They all have captions on them of various teams and different events that happened over the last number of years. And I'm conscious that we haven't concentrated as much on the later photographs as the earlier ones, because most of the people here, we reckon, would be fairly familiar with the things that happened in the last 15 or 20 years. So concentrate on the earlier days when people mightn't know as much about it.
One thing that I started when we were back talking about the official 1983 opening, that was a picture of a historic occasion for the club, because we were a visiting team from England playing that day, Corby. In 1982, we made a bit of history by making links with Corby and Northamptonshire through Eugene Murphy, who was from Atlantic, who was living over there at that time. Tom McGoldrick was here. One of the main organisers at this end, and a group from Derrylin, quite a large group, went over to Corby and hosted there for a weekend. They played football all right, but I think it was more pints for a quarter than pints on that particular weekend. And the following year then, Corby came back here. I believe on the way to Corby, going to Dublin, Tom had to get a guard escort, not because they broke any law, but because they were late. I think they called somewhere on the way and hadn't were nearly missing it. But the guards got them there in time. Anyway, the following year, we ran a 14 tournament to mark the opening of the pitch. Derrylin, Teemore, Kinawley and Corby. And as far as I remember, Teemore beat Corby in the semi-final, and Derrylin beat Kinawley, and Teemore beat Derrylin in the final. But it certainly enhanced the occasion, just having Corby there. There was another visitor too, but then people like all these things do. But that was, I think, it was well worth, recording as well. We deal with history of Derrylin. Not too many clubs, or certainly at that time anyway, not too many clubs today made any context with clubs in England. Maybe now, maybe a few more do, but it's not all that common. Okay. Thank you all. I think that's it, isn't it?
That's more or less it. Yeah.
Well, I have to say to everybody, thank you very much. That's been an unbelievable night. We could probably stretch that for another 4 talks by the looks of things. I think everybody really loved all the funny snippets and the bits about individuals and people that are here tonight and their relatives, but particularly the photographs. And I just want to remind you that this talk is on Facebook, or will be on Facebook, so if you want to listen to it again, or if you want to tell relatives or people that aren't here tonight, they can tune in to Facebook and listen to the whole thing again. Photographs will be on display. We might get them displayed again because they're so good and we haven't had much time to go around looking at them. But again, all of these photographs are available on Facebook, so have a look at them. Okay, we also have some books. I know it's late, but if anybody wants to buy some of these books tonight, make sure and get them, or at least contact some of us so you can get them if you don't buy them tonight. There's some books here that won't be available and won't be around again. Some will be, and presumably more ones will be, there might be some more. But just make sure that you don't miss out on getting some of those books. I actually have a copy of the Area of Rock book from a way back. So it's important that those books are kept and passed on to families for generations to come. Thank you very much for your talks tonight. The effort that has been made by the Shamrocks and the O'Connells to give us a really informative and entertaining night has been unbelievable. And the blow-in and everything else, but that's been fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody. I think it just shows you the desire in the local area for people to hear stories, to share our heritage, and to make sure that there's lots of other subjects that we want to hear about in the future. Please let us know what you like. We look forward to the next talk, which is the McBrien Pipe Band in February. Don't forget the T.P. Maguire Memorial Quiz. Don't forget about the schools here. Leaves of Legacy as well, and I think it's really important that people in the future that we look after ourselves, look after our local community, and look after each other, and we go from strength to strength from this kind of talk. So thank you very much everybody for coming out tonight, and thank you to everybody again.